to take notes. Get ready to take notes. Good morning. Good morning. God bless you all. Again, my name is Coach Schellie. I am and have been a very proud member of this movement. It's been about 5 to 6 years, I believe, since I have been serving as the wellness coach. And if I wasn't the wellness coach, I was serving in some type of capacity. I believe in the power that we have as women, truly understanding that our crowns are our brains. Our crowns cannot shine any brighter than our brains can. And so as a wellness coach, I am a licensed psychotherapist. I've been practicing for about 23 years, CEO and owner of Ask Schellie Consulting. What I do for this platform is to make sure that whenever I am given the opportunity or whenever the need screams, is to provide education, psychoeducation that helps us to truly master our emotional health, because we will never, ever be able to surpass our mental health. Our progress, our success will never surpass the level of our mental health. It will never, ever happen. You will be allowed to function probably for a couple of years before you will come to a complete stop. And so what we do here during these master classes, when we have one-on-ones when necessary, is to make sure that as CEOs, as we move forward in carrying the calling on our lives, the demand on our skills, the demand on our abilities, that we are not being drugged by the call. That we're not being drugged by our feet, right? But that we continue to be the top executives in that purpose. And the only way to do that is to truly understand the how in taking dominion over our emotions. What we're talking about today is the management of stress. I'm going to tell you what happens. I want to warn you, because what usually happens, hello, Duran. Thank you for joining. I'm going to be introducing this gorgeous man in just a second. But what happens is that sometimes we've heard messages before and we will automatically go to I've heard that before mode. And when you go to I've heard that before mode, your brain starts to flush out the information that you need for your breakthrough. It doesn't matter. You could hear something 3, 4, 5, 6 times, but if you haven't applied it, you don't know it. And let me explain that. Knowing is doing consistently over time. That is the evidence of knowing. Knowing, truly knowing, is when you are doing something different consistently over time that causes change and transformation. So you may know something that you are not applying, therefore you don't know. So it doesn't matter if you have heard the importance of stress management a million times. I am challenging you to come into this class with an open mind and a readiness to do things differently. There is always opportunity for growth. There is always room and opportunity for change. And so you are being challenged this morning to find that space for your life. I know most of the time we want to record things. And then we want to go straight to our notepad or straight to our messages so we can let our loved ones know, I've got some skills or tips for you, right? But I'm challenging you to do this for yourself this morning. And a lot of the times as CEOs, as leaders, as world changers, we don't take the time to do it for ourselves. I'm asking you to be a little selfish this morning and take this in for yourself, share it later, but really to take self-inventory for yourself. Now, just give me a moment here. All right, so I want to introduce to you Dr. P. These are real people that I have or are treating right now. I won't give you their real names, but Dr. P is a gynecologist, a female gynecologist, who was mandated to come to my practice for treatment in order for her to maintain her license to practice. She lost her residency in about 3 hospitals here in this area and down south as well because of her attitude. There were nurses that were claiming she was abusive, and that she was verbally abusive, that she was rude, that she created a hostile work environment for them. So she was mandated to go into 6 months of treatment. And during that 6 month of treatment, she came into the awareness of just how overwhelmed, burnt out, and stressed she was. Now, you may be thinking, like, how do you not know that? Well, sometimes we will mistake emotional resilience for some type of power. But resilience, when it keeps you from tapping into your emotional needs, it's just avoidance, right? But we often, as CEOs, call it resilience, and it really is poor judgment. What happens is we desensitize ourselves. We push in the stress. We push in the fatigue. We push through the challenges, and we never really stop to sit and assess how we can do things differently. Half the time, we don't even realize it when we are stressed. I'm good. I'm doing good. This is what I do every day, right? While your insides, while your organs are breaking down, your menstrual cycles are going way off, your hair can't grow, your skin is bad, you're not feeling happy, you're not feeling fulfilled. You finally arrived and can't even enjoy it. And so here is this doctor that was not aware of her own stress and how overwhelmed she was, how burnt out it was, and how burnt out she was, and then quite frankly realized, I'm not fulfilled in what I'm doing. I am not fulfilled at what I'm doing. And just that alone, not walking in her purpose and not walking in what she was called to do, was stressful in and of itself. Let me introduce you to Katie. She was a doctor. She was a doctor for many years. And around the age of 40, she started to realize, you know what? I think there's something else out there for me. She went into the financial services industry and killed the game in 1 year. She had to bring family members in. Family members were moving to the state that she had lived in to kind of help support the significant growth of the business. But what happened was she did not have a routine, a regime. She didn't have the coping mechanism. She didn't have the emotional intelligence to manage the stress. So here she is, she's making all this money, one financial firm open, next financial firm open. She's making 3, 4, 5 times the amount of money she made as a doctor, but she wasn't tapping into the vehicle that you need to make it to your destination, and that's herself. And so eventually, she was at a dead stop. Depression completely took over, wasn't able to get up. She became suicidal. She told one family member, everybody goes crazy. Family members are taking over. She's being treated for depression and anxiety right now. The depression and anxiety became very physical. So she has some physical ailments attached to it because stress is a tumor. And when we don't tap into the stress, it only gets worse. It's progressive. It's persistent. That means that it can only get worse over time. And so that's exactly what happened. And so the stress became very physical because our bodies respond to the stress. Our bodies are going to do what they are designed to do to support you, right? And so your bodies are going to release stress hormones to make sure that you, Jazzy, Narissa, Precious, Tatiana, Katia, Marcia, that you can continue, DJ, Yoshi, right? Your bodies are going to do what you need so that you can continue to forge forward. But let me help you to understand what the cost is. So your brain is going to release the stress hormones that you need to continue to forge forward in your purposes. Those stress hormones, though, have side effects. They help you to continue to move forward and continue to be the bomb.com, although you have 18 hours of sleep debt a week. And I'm going to talk about what sleep debt is, but those hormones force your body to go into like fight or flight mode. So as these stress hormones are going through your body, it causes your eyes to be dilated. It causes blood to rush to your hands and your outer extremities. It causes your blood to thicken. It literally, like, it's almost like fight or flight, like your body is preparing you to fight a bear. That's what happens. The same bodily responses that would happen if you had to fight somebody off and save your children. That's the same way your body responds to stress. So when you are in stress mode every day, what do you think is happening? Eventually, your organs are going to break down. Eventually, your brain is going to break down. All of a sudden, you're not as creative as you were. Those ideas are not coming as fast as they were. I can't break night the way that I used to. It's going to cause some type of physical damage. We would not be doing you any service as an organization and as a membership if we didn't stop and say, listen, CEO Chick, I know you're the bomb.com girl, you boss chick, but if you are not tapping into your mental health, specifically how you manage your stress, the probability of you derailing from what you're called to do is going to be quite high. I want to talk to you about Jackie. She's a 30-year-old nurse. She lost her mother. She did not deal with the grief. She was back at work the next Monday after the funeral. After about 3 weeks of working, she was at a red light and heard voices. As a nurse, she understood that I am now experiencing auditory hallucinations. She was able to logically process what was happening to her. So she goes to the hospital, she checks herself involuntary and never made it out. Her voluntary admission became an involuntary admission because her breakdown continued to happen. The auditory hallucinations became visual hallucinations. Her visual hallucinations then became tactile hallucinations. I got bugs crawling all over my body. The next thing you know, she has an involuntary order for medication. Then she was sent to the state hospital right here in the state of Florida. She was in the state hospital, hospitalized for about 2 years. And I had the privilege of going out and assessing her capacity to be discharged into the community. At a stoplight, she lost her mental health just that quickly. And some of us are one stressor away from a breakdown. So we're going to talk about it today, stress management. I'm going to go ahead and quickly share my screen. And if you hear me okay, give me an emoji, give me a thumbs up. If you're ready, let me know that you're ready. Give me a hand clap, give me something so I know that I'm not in this game alone. All right. I'm gonna quickly present. You should see my screen in just a second. So we're talking about stress management. Understand that stress could be anything that causes pressure, and that pressure causes you to respond in a physical way. It can cause you to respond in just physically, spiritually, or emotionally. And we have to understand that we got to stop trying to judge our stressors. Like, this is a small thing. I shouldn't feel stressed. This is a small thing. No. Listen to your body. Understand change causes stress. Positive change causes stress. Oh, I got a new job. I have a newer house. I'm pregnant again. Those things may be good, but do you know that all change, it comes with some level of stress? And it comes with some level of stress because all change involves some level of loss. I want you to think about it. All change involves some level of loss. So it's important for us to be very mindful of how our minds, our bodies, and our souls are responding to the things that are happening in our lives. We're talking about stress management. I want us to go into the keys to how to manage stress from a preventive from a more preventive perspective, and then we're going to talk about a reactive, like some of the things that we should be doing on a daily basis, or what we should be doing in the moment where we are realizing that our stress levels are high. And this is where the interactive part of what we're doing today comes in. We're going to be doing breathing together. We're going to be tapping together. Duran is going to lead us in meditation today. Get comfortable and get ready. I know we hear this all the time about exercise. We hear it all the time, how important it is. Understand that not only is this very crucial as a preventive measure to stress, studies show that the brain responds better to stress when the exercise has already happened. Okay, now understand what that means. Some of us will exercise at the end of our day when the stressors have already happened. I'm not telling you to change your routine for those of you who even have it, right? And those who don't, be activated now. Be activated now. There is nothing that you can do to bypass it. There's nothing that you can do. You're going to get to a point in your life where you're going to have to include exercise in your day-to-day regime. Allow it to happen voluntary, because if you don't do it voluntary, it's going to be a part of your life involuntary. Studies show that when the exercise has already happened, it positions you, mind, body, and soul, to be able to manage your stress better. So if that is the case, and if that is true, that means the exercise should happen first. Next, when it comes to preventive measures, when we're talking about stress management, when we're talking about the call that we carry, the heaviness that we carry, the demand on our time and the demand on our energy, the demand on your expertise, the demand on your anointing, you can't do it without proper sleep. There's something called sleep debt. And sleep debt is any amount of hours that you lose. We should have an average of 8. So if you got 6 hours of rest, you're in debt 2 hours. Tuesday, you sleep 4 hours. You're in debt now an extra 4. That balance continues to accrue until you give your body that sleep back. Some of us, you think about what your sleep debt is right now. I want you to think about from Sunday to today. I want you to go into the chat, and how many hours of sleep debt are you in right now? Be honest. If we're using 8 hours of rest a night, I want you to go into the chat and tell us what your sleep debt is in right now. At the end of your week, we should be so intentional about giving our bodies back that sleep debt. You owe your body that. It's very important. In your sleep, your brain recalibrates. In your sleep, your brain makes new connections. You wonder why your pulse are the same, everything's the same, you ain't got no new idea. It's at night in your REM sleep, right? In your REM sleep where your brain is making new connections. And even as you sleep in the early hours of the night, your brain is recalibrating. It recalibrates physically, and then it recalibrates up neurologically. It has different phases. I'm not a neurologist, but it happens in phases. The last phase of your sleep, where we're usually awake, in the last phase of your sleep, it happens in the early hours of the morning. That is when your brain is regenerating and reproducing in its mental functions, mental health. And so understand how important that is. You have to be mindful of how you're giving yourself that sleep back. Next, eating healthy. Studies show that the best diet when it comes to stress management and when it comes to brain functioning, remember we said your brain is your crown, is a Mediterranean diet. And it's quite simple. High vegetables, high fruits, high nuts, good fish, right? So high vegetables, high fruits, nuts, and fish. I'm not saying that you need to cut things out. I'm just letting you know that this is the best diet when it comes to managing your stress. The next is awareness. You have to be aware First of all, we have to be connected with our emotions enough that we are even aware that we are stressed. I don't know how many times I deal with my high achieving clients that come in and they are saying, you know what, I feel great. I'm like, okay, awesome. Well, let's take a look at the feelings wheel. And I want you to really tell me what you're feeling right now. And as we start processing and as we start talking about the day, then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, I guess I'm feeling a little way, like not even being able to put words to how they're feeling. And so when we're talking about awareness, we have to even be aware of where we are at. I have high achieving women program in their phone reminders to sit and think about where they are in that moment. So when their alarm goes off, they literally scale where they are at in that moment. I am feeling really pissed right now, and my pissed offness is at a 10. When you scale yourself, you take control right there because you're tapping in. So not only do we have to be aware of our stressors, we have to be aware of what's avoidable and what's not. Because those avoidable stressors means that you got to be responsive to them. You have to be responsive to those avoidable stressors. How do we become responsive to avoidable stressors? Ding, 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 boundaries. Setting boundaries. Who are those avoidable people? What are those avoidable places? What are those avoidable interactions? You may not be in a space to be available to everyone every time. And so you have to start to make a list of what your avoidable stressors are and create a plan of action to be avoidant, especially when it's healthy. I don't promote unhealthy avoidance, but healthy avoidance is key. So again, when we are talking about stressors, what are your avoidable stressors? And for those unavoidable stressors, how are you responsive to it? After a day of unavoidable stressors, you're able to go home and do what? How do you decompress? Your self-care, your daily routines have to be sufficient enough to carry the weight of the stress. So if deep breathing is not enough, if deep breathing doesn't necessarily match up to the amount of stress you carry, then we got to add something to that list. It may need to be deep breathing and then a bath and then journaling. You may need therapy. You have to assure that what you are doing is enough to carry the weight. Some of us, what we carry is way too much to go and get your hair done and your nails done once a week. It's not sufficient. What you're doing to manage the stress has to be enough to carry the call. And the next is we have to take action. And that's what we are doing today. Today, we are talking about specific things that we can do to manage stress, specifically breath work, tapping, and meditation. Breath work, tapping, and meditation. So we're going to start with breath work. Now, these are different ways that you can breathe, and I'm only going to go over a few because we can spend the whole hour just doing breath work alone. Now, therapy is about, on average, 165 to 250 an hour. And this is free. You don't have to buy it anywhere. It's right here. You don't have to buy it anywhere. It's right here. Your breath work can do amazing things. When you engage in your breath work, you may not press send on that text. When you are engaging in that breath work, you may not snatch her wig off at Bank of America. You may not. If you give yourself some time to engage in that breath work, right? It's powerful, it's natural, it's effective. When people are like, it just didn't work. No, it works. It's effective and it works. It will manage your stress. It will balance your blood pressure. It will balance your brain waves. It will give your muscles relief. It works. So we're going to start with square breathing. And Duran, first of all, let me just introduce this man that has joined us. I met Duran in Detroit at a speaking engagement a couple of years ago, and we connected almost immediately. And he spoke at that conference on meditation. And you know, as a psychotherapist, I have heard people talk about meditation. I have led meditations, but I never heard it presented that way. There was such an anointing on his life. He captivated the entire audience. It was almost hypnotic. And so we spoke, we ended up at the same speaking engagement in Gainesville, Florida, found out that he lived right there. I'm like, oh my God, you're in the same state. He came, he spoke at our conference. He does amazing work. He deals with high achieving men and women and helping them to meditate, teaching them, guiding them through it, and helping them to tap into versions of themselves that they didn't even know existed. And so he's going to be talking to us about meditation. And Duran, you have permission to interrupt and just and add any layers you want to add to anything that I've already said. I want us to start with square breathing. That is one that most people know. And this is when you inhale the same amount of counts, you hold your breath the same amount of counts, you exhale the same amount of counts, and then you hold your breath at the bottom, same amount of counts. So let's say we do it for 4. That means for 4 counts, you are inhaling. 4 counts you hold. 4 counts you exhale. 4 counts you hold at the bottom. You will not pass out. It's just 4 counts. I've had some people that have been able to do square breathing at 8 seconds or 8 counts. If that's you, that's fine. Today, we're going to do 4. So that's 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. So we're going to do that again. We're going to do that together. So get very, very comfortable. I think some of you are driving, so be careful with that comfort.
Everyone turn
okay.
And we turn our cameras on as well. I want to see everybody's faces.
All right, so here we go. We're going to start right here, 4 counts in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. The next one is a method of breathing where you are being very intentional about what I call your coffee straw. So basically on the exhale, you are think about the little coffee straw, like, you know, little cocktail straw that they give you, that you're blowing all of the air that you have in your lungs out that little tiny straw. When you breathe this way, we breathe from our diaphragm. That means that on the inhale, your chest is not necessarily rising, but on the inhale, your stomach is expanding. And so you go 4 counts in, feeling the air fill your stomach, your diaphragm. And on the exhale, you're going 8 counts out of that coffee straw. Again, you go in 4, filling your stomach, and then you go out of that coffee straw 8 counts, because it's going to take you longer to empty out your lungs than it is to fill it. Let's do that together. 4 counts in. Now, at this particular point, you should have your big belly, but your nice belly, nice and filled, and then out of your coffee straw. In through your nose. Big belly, 8 counts out of your coffee straw. That's diaphragmic breathing. 4 in, 8 counts out through your coffee straw. The next one that we're going to talk about is nostril breathing. So we're going to start with our right hands, and you're going to take down your index finger and your middle finger. So you're going to have your thumb, and the next finger will be your ring finger, right, on your right hand. You're going to turn that towards you, and you're going to close your right, you're going to block off your right nostril. Got that? Your right nostril. So we're going to do 4 counts in through our left nostril. Ready and go. 1. Then you're going to take your ring finger, block the other nostril, and exhale out of the right nostril. Inhale here. Switch and exhale. So let me explain it again. You block your nostril, you go 4 in, switch 4 out, bring it in, then out. Go in, switch out. Inhale in, switch out. That is alternate nostril breathing. It is powerful. It gives you a rush of oxygen. It calms you down. It ignites your parasympathetic system. That's the system that is responsible for your calmness. That's the system that's responsible for your sleep. That's the system that's responsible for you continuing to rest in your sleep. Some of us have problems talking in our sleep, walking in our sleep. That's a parasympathetic issue, right? But that breathing helps to ignite your parasympathetic system to keep you calm. So we talked about square breathing, belly breathing. We talked about alternate nostril breathing. We're going to talk about finger breathing. Finger breathing. So this is when you stop your breath at increments. So you go in, out, 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 out. In, out, 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 out. You can use your fingers, especially if you need that extra distraction and to keep count. When you use your fingers, each finger taps your thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each finger tap is a breath in. So it looks like this. Keep in mind that with your finger breathing, you are paying attention to filling your what? Your stomach. If you find that your chest is rising and falling, self-correct. Try to self-correct. And understand this. If you are going through a bad day and you are really trying not to go off on your children or your husband or your client who hasn't paid their invoice in like 20 years and still wants you to see them, right? You may try this and feel like it doesn't work. It will work, but I'm going to tell you what maximizes the effectiveness. What maximizes the effectiveness is practice. You got to practice these tools. You have to practice these skills. And so my clients are expected to practice it daily so that when you pull from that wellness toolbox, it's something you have mastered. Another way to do that type of breathing that we did with our fingers is to do 4 counts in. Remember how we did 4 counts in, 8 counts out? It's the same thing, except on the out, you do that breaking on the out. So it goes like this. So you can do it on the inhale and the exhale. You can do a full inhale and break it up on the exhale. This is all types of breath work. You find the one that works the best for you, or you do a combination of them. 15 to 20 minutes to start your day. 15 to 20 minutes as you decompress from your day. Just start there. 15 to 20 minutes on the start of your day, 15 to 20 minutes as you close. Let's talk about tapping. Tapping, where are we at? 9:36. Okay, I'm going to try to move faster. Tapping is when you are tapping on certain parts of your body that sends direct signals to your amygdala. The amygdala is the part of your brain that is responsible for your emotional responses. Some of us have very overactive amygdalas. Some of us are underactive amygdalas. And many times what would cause you to have an overactive amygdala or an underactive amygdala is your trauma, your emotional injury, those things you haven't resolved, those things that you haven't touched, those things that you haven't processed. It can sometimes be physical if you have a hormonal issue. Whatever that is, be responsive to it. We are here to support that if you really want to discover why. At any rate, these different points on your body sends direct messages to your amygdala to calm the heck down, basically. And these are there are 8 different points. The first one is on the inside of your eyebrows. And when you tap, you're using all 4 fingers to tap on that area. It creates a sense of calm, especially when it's done repetitively. And this is the thing. Because it's calming you, it causes your brain, in the midst of that calmness, to become extremely gullible, impressionable, like a baby that learns from adults in the atmosphere. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so what happens is, what you say while you are tapping, you can literally program your mind to believe what it is you say, because your brain is at its most gullible point as you tap. Although I am stressed, I have the power to overcome. I release all things that do not measure up to my value. I have the power. For those of you who got big ones up here, you can do it like this. It's right in the back by your bra strap. I have the power to problem solve. Opportunities continue to find me. I invite things that are not for me to leave my life. I invite growth and opportunity. Although I feel overwhelmed right now, I invite peace into my life. I deserve the things that I desire. I have the capacity to accomplish the things that I dream about. There are no limits to what I can do. I am fully resourced to meet every goal. There is no competition in my lane. I am fully capable. I invite peace and calm into my life. It's powerful, guys. It's a way of using the power of influence. You let propaganda influence you. You let the billboards on I-4 influence you. You let those superstars and those celebrities influence you. It's time for you to influence you. It's time for you to program you. It's time for you to tell you what you're gonna do or how you're gonna do it. That's what tapping does. It gives you dominion over your emotions. How do you think you're gonna take dominion on what you were called to take dominion over if you can't tap dominion or take dominion over your own emotions? We all got mountains that we're gonna dominate on, all of us. But we have to be able to manage our emotions, tapping those 8 points while you're saying, you're being honest about how you feel, but you're also saying what you are inviting. Tapping always starts with you tapping on this part of your body before you start. You can tap on one issue. It could be that I don't know how I'm gonna make this next payment. So I'm just gonna tap on that. I'm gonna tap on the stress that I'm feeling about this mortgage payment that's coming up. And this stress that I have about that mortgage payment, it's at about a 9 right now. I don't on a scale of 1 to 10. So you pick what you want to tap on. You scale where that number is, 1 to 10. And then you start. I may not know where the money is coming, but money finds me. I am releasing this stress. And I know that God is a provider. I'm releasing the stress and I am inviting peace and calm no matter what my stressors are. I can still find peace in the storm. I can still smile in this storm. That's what tapping does. You guys got me? All right. The next is meditation. Studies show that the frontal lobe can literally be reprogrammed. Now, your frontal lobe is where your executive functioning is. That's what makes you a good CEO, is what happens in your frontal lobe, the executive functioning of your brain. Studies show that meditation, for people that meditate, they have the highest level of functioning in their brains. There are anthropologists that follow millionaires. And there was a time where Colleen had invited me to talk about what those anthropologists found about how millionaires and billionaires live. And there were things like they take cold showers in the morning. Who would have thunk it? They take cold showers in the morning because it stimulates your brain. They are intentional about using their non-dominant hand. I can go on and on. Get the class. I'm sure it's somewhere in the library. But one of the things that they do that are in common is that most millionaires and billionaires meditate. Duran, let us know what's so important about meditation and just guide us in a few minutes of meditation.